Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GWOT FOB podcast, brought to you by Combat Outpost Robinson, doing great things for our veterans. I'm your host, Jim Robinson, and today we've got another special guest in the studio today, Spencer Sullivan, who is a Afghan war veteran, I believe from 2010, if I'm not mistaken.
2012, close, yes.
Okay, 2012. Served in the Kandahar area. So he's also a up-and-coming author, and it's got a book coming out, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the episode. So, Spencer, welcome to the show, and I'm glad to have you on.
Thank you, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Let's start out with giving our viewers and our listeners a little background into who Spencer Sullivan is. You know, what your childhood was like, you know, what it was like growing up, and I'm not even sure where you grew up, so you can let
places. That's part of the story.
Okay, all right. Well, that's what we're here for. So, you know, let us know a little bit about that and go into your teenage years and what teenage life was like, and then kind of, you know, how you ended up going into the military, because I knew you was also part of the ROTC program, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
That's right, at William and Mary. That's right.
Okay, all right. Well, go ahead and take it away.
Sure. The events that set me on the path toward the global war on terror are many and varied. So I was actually born abroad. My parents worked for the Foreign Service.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, that's right. So we lived in a bunch of different places. They had traveled a bunch before I was born, but I was actually born in Buenos Aires in Argentina.
Oh, wow.
That's right. So we lived there for a few years, and then next was Costa Rica. And then I came to the States for the first time in the early 90s when I was about 4 years old.
Okay.
So I grew up around Spanish. We had a Honduran nanny who lived with us until I was about 8. So because of that, I had an ear for it growing up. And after studying it in school and doing a semester abroad in college, I really nailed the Spanish. So I was very grateful for that experience.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Invaluable, not just in life, but the military, it certainly paid off. A lot of Spanish speakers in the military.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so we moved quite a bit. We were also in Stockholm, Sweden in the early mid-90s, not that long after the collapse of the Soviet Union.
Right.
So my parents were doing work there around the Baltic area. And then we moved back to the States, to the DC Beltway region in 1996. And I've been in Virginia ever since.
Okay.
With the exception of my military career, which has taken me various.
Okay. Well, you've lived in quite some interesting places.
Yeah, not least of which was Afghanistan.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, fascinating place.
What was life like, you know, moving around like that all the time?
I legitimately enjoyed it.
Okay.
I think the only hard move for me was when we moved from Maryland just across the river to Virginia. So it wasn't even a big jump, but I was old enough by that point.
Okay.
Where I established a friend group and, I'd gotten used to my school. So I was conscious enough of the move that was a little bit tough. But otherwise, it was a really valuable experience because it taught me flexibility, tenacity, make do with what you have, with where you are.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
My parents definitely instilled that in me, and I went to summer camp growing up, and similar experience. You're far away from home, only relying on yourself and the people that you can form relationships with around you.
Right.
So that was valuable. It was a good experience and has served me well later in life.
Okay. Well, what area of Virginia were you in?
Northern Virginia. I'm still here. I'm currently in Annandale, but basically around the Beltway, Arlington, Great Falls, Vienna. If anyone's familiar with the area, I've lived in all of these different places.
I'm asking because I was actually born in Washington, D.C.
No kidding.
Yeah, my dad was Army, and he was stationed there at the Proving Grounds.
Yeah.
And they actually lived in Falls Church.
Yeah, right up the road from me.
Okay. That's pretty cool. All right. Well, how did you come to decide to get into the ROTC program?
This is an interesting story. I have a very specific answer for you, but
Okay.
I don't quite understand it. And this will become clear as I tell the story.
Okay.
I knew I was going to be in the military from a very young age, and it actually predates 9/11. And I don't have
Okay.
an explanation for this. I don't know where this comes from, subconsciously or experiences before solid memories were forming. But here's how it went,
Okay.
as far as I can recall. Uh, there's a movie with Demi Moore called G.I. Jane. I'm sure you're aware of
Oh,
it,
yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I remember watching this movie in the 90s whenever it came out and being really enthralled by that movie. And just in particular, there is a sequence where she's going through SEER school, survive, escape, resist, evade.
Right.
Maybe I switched the E's, but you get the idea. This is
Right.
this intense military training for Navy SEALs. Demi Moore's going through it as G.I. Jane, and there's a scene where she's leading a squad or a platoon on a mission, and one of her subordinates, a sergeant, is questioning her leadership, saying,
Right.
"You need to go here. Here's the objective." And she was so confident and so sure of herself, and she said, "No, this is
Right.
where we're going. This is how we got to get there." And I cannot explain it. I don't know why, but even at a very young age, when I was watching that, I must have been younger than 10. I saw that and I thought, when I am in her position, I hope that I am competent enough to be able to confidently lead my soldiers
Wow.
through that situation. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
It just came into my mind. It was destiny. Like, I'm going to do this someday.
Right. I mean, to have even have that kind of a thought at that age,
It's strange. It's
it
unusual.
is strange. It is strange. But
Yeah. So I don't know where that came from, but I thought, I'm going to do that.
right.
When I do, I hope that I am well trained enough and confident in my abilities that I can do that uh, and make my men proud. Fast forward a little bit, sixth grade, I'm on the playground. I have this distinct memory of thinking, gosh, combat's going to be scary. This is prior to 9/11. We were not actively at war.
Right.
When I'm in combat, gosh, that's going to be scary. I hope I keep it together. And at the age of 12, I thought, you know what? Suck it up, man. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna do great when you're in combat. Don't know where that comes from at all. And then a few short years later, in middle school, I'm in eighth grade English class, and September 11th unfolds.
Okay.
I think a lot of people my age had a similar experience. They were likely in school, and the teachers were whispering and passing notes from the
Oh,
office.
I'm sure. Yeah.
It was pretty intense. And then by the end of the day, my last class was a drama class with a gentleman named Marcello Rolando. He insisted we call him Boss. So Boss, we got into the class and he said, "Do you all know what's going on?" We said, "Sorta." And
Yeah.
he turned on the TV and said, "This is class today." And I am so grateful to that man for
Right.
that decision to treat us with respect as adults. We weren't adults, but to treat us with respect, to be able to handle what we were seeing. And of
Right.
course, we were here in Virginia. The Pentagon had been hit right up the road.
Right.
People, parents in the area. It was an ambiguous, tough situation, but he trusted us to be able to handle it. And so I was watching these events unfold, and again, in that moment, something in the back of my mind said, I'm going to be involved in this somehow. I don't know in what capacity, but here it comes. We're going to war.
Right.
Uh, Lo and behold, we go to Afghanistan. Shortly thereafter, we're in Iraq in March 2003.
Right.
I was a freshman and sophomore in high school. And I was moving through high school, watching the war unfold, thinking, I hope I don't miss it. I already missed the Guadalcanal of my generation, right? The Thunder Run to Baghdad, gone. I was too
Right.
young. And it took all the way until 2012 to actually arrive at the war. And strangely enough, in retrospect, that was about the halfway point
Okay.
of our
Yeah.
total time
Right.
in Afghanistan. So
Right.
there was no chance I was going to miss it, but that was impossible to know at the time.
Oh, yeah. You didn't know how long it was going to last at that point.
No one did. That's
Right.
right. So, like I said, a strange story. I don't have an explanation for it. It's just that was my experience.
Okay. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah.
Okay, so you ended up going into which branch?
So I started by enlisting in the Virginia National Guard while I
Right.
was in college. It
Okay.
was called a simultaneous membership program, or SMP. You get to enlist, go through boot camp. I was in the infantry, and then when you graduate and commission as an officer, the branches change, or there's a chance that it will change. So
Right.
I did 2 years in the Virginia Guard. Wonderful experience. Really enjoyed that. Uh, and I commissioned into the armor branch,
Okay.
armor, cavalry.
All right.
So for the uninitiated, this is mounted warfare. Not so
Right.
much horses anymore, more metal tanks and armored
Right.
vehicles and personnel carriers. But that was the path that I took.
Okay. Well, good.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, let's jump right into your first deployment to Afghanistan.
Yes. First and only. So I only had one deployment.
Okay.
My first year in the Army was all training. So I did my
Right.
basic officers course at Fort Knox, Kentucky. I was one of the last armor classes there
Right.
before the maneuver center moved down to Fort Benning, Georgia.
Right.
Then I took an advanced reconnaissance course, one of the best courses I've ever taken in my life, because it was the first time someone was teaching me how to think
Right.
instead of what to think.
Mhm.
And
That's a big difference.
it's a big difference. And it stuck with me. It has stuck with me to this day. It really taught me some good fundamentals about creativity and flexibility and the nature of learning. 28-day course really stuck with me. I went on to catch up with Fort Benning anyway. I did Ranger School there. I
Okay.
recycled the first phase, but I made it through the second time. So I graduated Ranger School August of 2011, and then went on to my first duty station in Joint Base Lewis McChord, previously known as Fort Lewis, in Tacoma, Washington.
Okay.
So I make it out there, and I get to my duty station, sign in, and the administrative lieutenant looks at me, looks at my shoulder, sees the Ranger tab, and then calls my future squadron commander, and says, "Hi, sir, I've got a Lieutenant Sullivan here. He's got a Ranger tab." He goes, "Send him over." Unusual, or less common for an armor officer to have a Ranger tab. Somebody outside of the infantry
Right.
have it. So they sent me over, and I sat down with my squadron commander, a gentleman named Jim Donovan, great guy, great leader. And he said, "All right, I tell you what, we're all filled up on platoon leader slots, but we're going to Afghanistan for a year, and we're leaving in 2 months. So you come with us. You're coming with us anyway, but you come
Right.
with us as an administrative staff
Mhm.
officer, be our
Right.
battle captains, or run the day to day. And in a few months, I will give you a platoon. So in early spring, I'll give you a platoon. Otherwise, I can send you over to one of the infantry battalions, and you could be a specialty platoon leader there because you've got the credentials." I said, "No, you got it. Option number one. I will go with you all. I'll do a few months of staff time, and then please, because my entire objective since the beginning of this thing has been to lead a platoon in combat. That's what I want."
Okay.
Grew up watching Band of Brothers and everything else. I
Right.
wanted to be Dick Winters. Who didn't want to be Dick Winters? So that was the goal, and I said, "Sure." We go to Afghanistan in December of 2011, which was interesting timing because it was January 1, 2012 when they switched from 12-month deployments to 9-month deployments. We were on the back end of the surge in Afghanistan.
Right.
And so they started to scale things down a bit after that. But because we got there in December of 2011, we got a year-long deployment
Okay.
as opposed to the 9-month.
Okay.
Fine, good. If I'm going to be there, let's do it.
Right.
And it afforded us the ability to take mid-tour leave, which was
Right.
nice,
Yeah.
right? Whereas the
Oh, yeah.
9-month guys and gals, they had to do the whole rotation with no breaks.
Right.
So we did that. We had a few months in the snowy, freezing cold of Afghanistan. I was slightly northeast of Kabul in Zabul province. It's an adjoining province there,
Okay.
and a slightly higher elevation, lots of snow. We had a pretty nasty green on blue incident early on in the deployment. Are you familiar with those? And I can
Yes.
explain it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
green on blue incident. green forces are allied to the United States.
Right.
So these are local national. These are Afghan forces, Afghan police, Afghan army.
Right.
Blue forces are NATO.
Right.
U.S., European, NATO forces. A green on blue incident occurs when Afghan forces turn on us and kill blue NATO forces.
Right.
The reasons for these incidents were multifaceted. Sometimes it was someone of their own volition just said, nuts to this. I don't like the Americans. I'm going to kill them.
Right.
That was culturally motivated. It was motivated by religion. And other times they were coerced. Right. So there could be somebody who believed in our mission and supported the United States and wanted a democracy in Afghanistan. But the Taliban would approach them and say, I'm going to murder your family unless you kill Americans. And they'd say, okay. And so they would.
Right.
So we had one pretty early in the deployment within earshot of our operations center, which made the war very real. Obviously, we were there, but to actually then see that, plus we had a civilian helicopter go down. Everyone died, 5 civilians on our base. That was pretty nasty. But then now I go and take a platoon. So get in a convoy, go through the snowy mountains to this remote outpost, FOB Sweeney in southern Zabul province. So I get out of the Striker, and I have my rucksack and my duffel bag and my weapon and the helmet and all the gear. And I'm looking around. There's no welcome committee. It's just mud and snow and a pickup truck, a Toyota Hilux, favorite of terrorists everywhere since the 1980s.
Right.
Not even legal in the Western world, but they're everywhere in the Middle East and Central Asia. Toyota Hilux pulls up, and another lieutenant gets out. He goes, "You Sullivan?" I said, "Yeah." And he just throws me the keys, and I catch him. He goes, "The operations center's over there. I'm hitching a ride out. Bye."
Wow. Throw you to the wolves.
So I throw my stuff in the Toyota Hilux, and I get in and realize that the driver's side is on the opposite side.
Right.
And it's a stick shift. And I thought, God, it's a good thing I know how to drive stick, because talk about getting thrown into it right away.
Right.
So I get in the right side, and I left hand stick shift this Hilux, and I'm driving around trying to find the operation. So I find it, and I walk in, and there's our company commander, a gentleman named Captain Joe Mickley, and he goes, "Hey, Sully, welcome. Relax for a few days. We haven't got going anything on. There's lots of snow, right? Missions aren't. Just get settled. Your tent's over there." He's like, "All right." And that was the beginning of my time as a platoon leader.
Wow.
Welcome to the fray, my guy. Yeah.
Right. Sounds like a total lack of organization.
Yeah. But the rest of the deployment was, as some say about wars, 90% adventure, 10% pure terror. It was a good mission. I mean, I was actually allowed to be a scout.
Okay.
Right. So we were a scout. My platoon was a scout platoon, reconnaissance platoon, attached to an infantry company.
Right.
So while they were doing the more kinetic stuff, the clearing operations, etc., my scouts were on the periphery, screening their movements, conducting reconnaissance, interacting with locals. But because we were on the edge, we actually got in contact more often than the actual grunts.
Okay.
And it wasn't a very active or kinetic deployment overall, but when there was engagements, we were the ones that were involved.
Right.
And so we went through the year that way, doing patrols, occasionally running into the Taliban. Mostly we'd find out after we got shot at.
Right.
And it's a funny pattern, because usually it takes the second time to get shot at before you realize it's happening. So you'll be walking along, or sitting somewhere, and you hear crack, crack, crack.
Right.
You kind of look at each other and go, "Are we getting shot at right now?" And then you hear it again, and you go, "Oh, okay, let's try."
Right.
And there was low points, and if relevant, we can get into it. But like any deployment, we had some low points. We lost a few
Right.
guys.
Right.
Uh, but the big thing out of that deployment was my interaction with the locals, with the
Right.
Afghans,
Right.
um, especially in the events that followed the war and my sort of recontextualizing of my experiences and those I kept in contact with. That became an increasingly central part of the story of my deployment, at
Right.
least for me.
Right.
Like everyone goes through their own experiences. At least for me, that was a central aspect of that deployment, was really understanding the people there.
Right.
I mean, what a famous cross section of geography and history and people and languages and cultures. Afghanistan, my God, uh, they've been a part of a dozen different empires,
Yes, they
uh,
have. Yeah.
right? I mean, their history is long and deep and
Yes.
varied, and it's just scoured across the landscape.
Yep.
There were these what we call the Carez irrigation systems,
Okay.
which to the naked eye, if you go on Google Earth and just zoom in Afghanistan, you'll see these lines of holes that go for hundreds of miles. They were built by the Mongols,
Oh, wow.
like Genghis Khan
Right.
Mongols when they
Exactly.
were in Afghanistan
Right.
about 900 years ago.
Well, what wasn't the, and I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong, the Pushtuns,
The Pashtuns,
Pashtuns, weren't they like a direct descendant from Genghis
from the
Khan?
Mongols. The Actually, it's the Hazara.
Hazara. I knew
Yeah,
it was one of them.
yeah, and you could see it. I mean, they're Asiatic, right?
Yeah.
They look like they are from Mongolia, from
Right.
Central Asia. The Pashtuns are the ones that are more traditional. Most of them are. The Taliban are mostly Pashtun. I was about to say the
Right.
Pashtun are mostly Taliban. That's not necessarily true.
Right.
If you are Taliban, you're more likely than not you're Pashtun. So the slightly more elongated face, darker skin, black beards, and the like.
Right.
Lots of ethnicities mixing around there. We even had an ancient fort in the middle of the province
Oh, wow.
built by Alexander the Great in
Wow.
his Macedonian Greek army from
Right.
2,300 years ago.
Right.
I mean, the desert preserves these places.
Yeah.
So imagine now,
Well, I can't
living,
imagine being there and just walking up on that and seeing it.
right, and thinking, we're not the only ones who have attempted to
Right.
subdue this country. I wonder if it's going to work out for us the same way it
Right.
did for anyone else.
Yeah.
I think we know how that turned out.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, man. Are there any certain missions that you were on over that kind of sticks with you?
Certainly, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's some that are memorable for funny reasons.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sure.
yeah, and then there are other ones for more serious reasons. The mission that really sticks in my mind is this week-long mission we took up to a northern part of our province. It's this district called Des Chopin. Excuse me. And our goal there was to make contact with the Taliban and fight them. We knew
Right.
that they were there. If you're going to execute a war, you got to find the bad guys and fight them. So
Right.
our goal was to fly into this isolated Afghan base, move out into the surrounding valley, make contact, and have at it. The reason it sticks out in my mind is certainly the events that took place, but also the deepening of my relationship that I had with my interpreter, my translator,
Right.
a young man named Abdul Haq.
Right.
He was on the mission with us, and he and I have dissected that mission from our respective perspectives
Right.
36 times, and seeing where, oh, you said this, what were you thinking? Oh, I did this, how did you interpret that?
Right.
And we've come to appreciate how much was going on there
Oh, I could imagine. Yeah.
below the surface, that really brought all of these different themes together. This interaction between peoples that just have no reason to find any overlap or common ground.
Right.
And I'm talking about the Afghan army soldiers and the American soldiers. We went on these joint missions together. We're fighting the war together.
Exactly. And a
And
lot
that's
of people, in the U.S. don't. I don't know if they don't realize that or they just block it out.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if people just simply weren't aware of that. I think
Right.
maybe it was easier to understand we were doing that in Iraq. But Afghanistan, the coalition forces were a huge part of our mission because we were going to leave someday.
Right.
We were not going to be in Afghanistan forever. The goal was to train up the Afghan army and police to be able to handle themselves when
Right.
we pulled out.
Right.
There were certain units that were more elite and well trained and well equipped,
Right.
but by and large, you saw them collapse almost instantaneously
Yes.
when we
Yes.
left. And you could see the seeds of that even back in 2012 when I was there. Case in point, we were on a mission, 3-day mission of some kind, and Afghan army pickup truck pulls up to my Strikers, my armored vehicle,
Right.
and says, Commandanza Sullivan, Commander Lieutenant Sullivan. Captain Mickley told us that you were carrying halal meals. Can you give them to us? We did. And I remember leaning out over the Striker and holding down my microphone from my helmet and saying, hey guys, you were told to pack enough food for 3 days. I'm getting kind of tired of bailing you guys out because
Right.
you can't properly plan your logistics.
Right.
And he said, well, we're out. We need it. And again, I said, guys, we're not going to be here forever. You guys need to figure this stuff out.
Right.
Well, Captain Mickley said that I said, fine. So, pulled out the boxes and chucked them over and said, here you go. Good luck when I'm not here.
Right.
To figure this stuff out for you guys. And it just repeated on that mission, the Deshopan mission. We were scheduled to leave the crack of dawn, and they were late, and not in a hurry when we did finally wake them up. Now, when things got more kinetic, they did their jobs. They fought. There was, they were very brave.
Okay.
But so much of war is everything that happens before you pull the trigger. In fact, most of it is. What would Sun Tzu say? The war is logistics. I'm going to get that wrong, and someone's going to hold me to account for that. But a lot of war is logistics.
Right.
And being in the right place, at the right time, in the right uniform is half the battle.
Right.
Right. And so we really struggled to, empathize with the state of the Afghan military, but very happy to have them with us when the bullets did start flying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. So that one really sticks out of my mind, and I'll give you one more example of story from that just to sort of close that up, tie a bow on it.
All right.
Abdul Haq, my interpreter,
right,
on day 4 or so, was using a water can to wash his feet and his hands. And you have to understand, we're on top of a mountain and we have to haul the water up and down every day in order to have enough to drink. My mind is thinking purely of top priorities, which is drinking water.
Right.
Like bathing is down here on the list of priorities. And he was using all this water. And I remember looking at him going, hey man, what are you doing? And he kind of laughed and ignored me. And I was like, hey, no, hello. Hi, buddy. Why are we wasting all this water? And he goes, kind of blew me off. I was like, what was that about? And then again, years later, as he and I are having this conversation, I asked him about that. He goes, oh yeah, you kind of pissed me off. I was like, go on. I'm not offended. I'm just curious. Like, what was going on? He goes, I was performing ablution. I was washing myself before prayer.
Oh,
because I'm Muslim. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Legitimately, truly, I am sorry. I had no idea. And he goes, I know you didn't. And that's why I didn't call you out for it. But I was in the middle of this thing. But there are a few other examples like that, it really just brings home the point that there were just these oceans of culture and understanding gaps
Yes.
between us because we came from just such radically different worlds,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yep.
And yet we were able to find a way to get along, to accomplish the mission, and to maintain our friendship and our relationship after the events of the war transpired. And
Right.
that's really you mentioned you mentioned the book. That's a really key theme in the book. And this
Right.
gentleman, Abdul Haq, is my co-author. The book is he and I
Right.
wrote it together about our experiences.
Right. And I understand a little bit about what you're saying about the different cultures and, their rituals and religious practices and stuff. Uh, back a couple weeks before Christmas, I had the pleasure uh, of having an Afghan come here and did a podcast episode with us. He was actually born in Kabul,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a photojournalist during the war over there.
Wow.
Won a Pulitzer Prize for some of his work.
No kidding.
Yeah, his name Masood Husseini,
Mm-hmm.
and he's actually living in the States now. And I'll tell you what, he and I will be friends for life. He spent the weekend, and we just had a blast. And he taught me quite a bit about their culture and the way that they do things and stuff like that. So,
Isn't it amazing that you can go from this place where you're so different and so far away, your starting points are on either end
oh yeah,
of the polarity. It's almost like the relationship becomes stronger
yes,
because of that, not in spite of it. If you can get
yes,
past that and see the other person as a human being, uh, it, it, okay, take these demographics and put them aside
yep,
of upbringing and religion, whatever, but people
right,
care about their family. They care about
yes,
their friends. They want
oh
what's best
yeah,
for themselves, uh, self-actualization, economic security, love, companionship. And as soon as you find that and realize that that's present in the other person, all that other stuff evaporates, floats
oh
away.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, he was a great guy. Uh, all right, let's talk a little bit about your transition back into civilian life after you got
Mm,
out.
sure.
So
Whew.
what was that like? I know it had to be a difficult process.
It was surprising. I like to think of myself as someone who was well prepared. Going into Afghanistan, I read a ton of books about it. Gosh, a few off the top of my head. What it's like to go to war. Um, the Bear Went Over the Mountain, which is about the Soviet experience there. The Other Side of the Mountain, which is all about the Mujahideen fighting the Russians in Afghanistan. The Kite Runner, a number of other ones. It did make the experience easier in that way to understand the culture a bit. And I did something similar on my way out of the military. When I came out, when I got back from the deployment, I was surrounded by people who had been through that experience with me. So I had community, I had friendship, and people who understood what it was like to be there and then suddenly be here.
Right.
And that was nice and that was useful. And I had made up my mind at least a year out that I was going to leave the military. I went back to school, did night classes, and got a master's degree in order to set myself up for whatever came next.
Right.
So I've been thinking about it for a long time. So I thought, I got this in the bag. I wasn't always in the military. I'm not going to be in the military forever. How
Right.
hard could it be? I didn't really think too hard about it. Got out of the military, got a job in Texas outside Houston, moved there, didn't know a soul, and found myself very isolated. Luckily, there was a junior leader training program in the
Okay.
company I was in uh, that pulled from the military. So I had somebody actually in my office who had similar experiences. And without that tether, I couldn't tell you precisely how that would have gone otherwise, but I experienced symptoms that I wasn't expecting, like memory loss. And I didn't understand until later that there's a connection between traumatic experiences and loss of memory.
Yes.
And the sudden transition out of the military, out of that context, away from that community, and then boom, brand new environment. No one you know is familiar. I would be driving home from work and forget how to get home.
Mhm.
I would go blank. I'd
Right.
miss turns and look around and go, where am I? And I have to pause, look up my address,
Wow.
and put it into Google Maps so I could get home. It happened on more than one occasion. It was really unnerving. Uh, I lived by myself, which was really nice in some ways, and it exacerbated the isolation problem.
Right.
I uh, I slept with a shotgun underneath my bed because boogeymen. I don't know, home invasion. I don't know why I did it, but it was
Well,
like a security blanket of something. My
hey,
security loaded shotgun underneath my
if
bed.
it makes you feel any better, I got two within arm's reach in my bed.
See, yeah, it's a weird phenomenon. You know what I'm talking about. So it was difficult. I also had pretty extreme hip pain. I partially torn the labrum in my right hip. I think it started in Afghanistan and got exacerbated in the years that followed when I was at home. But that was a really tough year physically, mentally for me. And then the emotions sort of came afterward. I didn't really understand what's happening to me at the time. And as I really started to settle into my memory of the deployment and my time in the military, that's when I feel like I came into myself a lot more fully, came to just appreciate that that was different and extreme because I just been living this life for since I was a teenager,
Right.
18, 19, through to 27. Boom, right? Again, formative, important years in a young person's life, and then all
Right.
of a sudden it's different. And I just thought, oh yeah, people just have to deal with that stuff. No, that's unusual.
Right.
Uh, so my transition experience out of the military, if I just summarize it in one word, it was surprising.
Okay.
I didn't expect that I would be the same level of susceptible to those forces as everyone else, and how
Okay.
naive of me to think that, but that's
Right.
the way that I experienced it.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this then. At what point did you get connected with Warriors of Quiet Waters? Because I know that you quite connected to those guys as well.
Great calling them out. They're a wonderful organization.
Yes, they are.
I actually got connected with them not as a participant, but as a volunteer. The way
Right.
this worked, I was a management consultant outside DC. One of my clients was the head of leadership development for a large pharmaceutical company, a gentleman named Keith. And Keith and I formed a good relationship. And he said, "Hey, do you coach?" I said, "Not formally, but in the course of my work, yeah, sure, I coach." He said, "I've got this program out in Montana. It's called Warriors in Quiet Waters. They're starting a coaching program. Let's get you certified. You come out and be a coach with me." I said, "Sure. Where's the dotted line? I'll sign."
Right.
So he got me in to, excuse me, a coaching program called the Marshall Goldsmith Stakeholder Centered Coaching. It's a mouthful for you.
they could have they could have picked a shorter name.
I know, branding. They have to get the name in there.
Right.
The class was full, and Keith knew the guy. He's like, "Can you get this guy in?" He said, "Sure, whatever." So I went and I did it. I got certified, and they flew me out to Montana. This was November 2019, and I served as a coach for one of the participants in the Warriors in Quiet Waters program, this coaching exercise. The idea was that they pair a coach with a combat veteran, and all these participants are wounded post 9/11 veterans.
Right.
And we're talking missing limbs, traumatic brain injury. These people are the highest level of need,
Right.
often with suicidal ideations, if not previous attempts. So the highest risk veteran population. And so the idea, the mission behind Warriors in Quiet Waters is they create a safe, quiet environment and give them a skill to concentrate and funnel their energy into. At that time, it was fly fishing. That was the
Right.
heart of that organization.
Right.
This coaching exercise was added on top of it So they pair up somebody with a coach for a year-long engagement, and the goal is to make meaningful progress on a life goal. That's how it started. That's how I got involved with Warriors in Quiet Waters. I've done 3 coaching engagements since 2019, each a year long with a different participant in the program, and it's been absolutely wonderful. They're such an incredible organization. You should go check them out. Warriors in Quiet Waters Foundation.
Right. And I would love to get them on the show here and, kind of get their information out there and let them give a more in-depth, detailed, picture of what they do. And
I'll broker an introduction for you. I know them well.
that'd be great. That'd be great. Absolutely. Okay. Well, 2021. The withdrawal. Okay. Let's back up from 2021. Let's go back to I believe it was 2017 when the Doha Agreement was brokered.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's call it what it is. That's when the fall of Afghanistan started.
Mm-hmm.
What was your thoughts as an Afghan veteran at that point on that agreement?
The overwhelming emotion that really lasted through the collapse was simply sadness.
Oh, yeah.
It was sadness. I think a lot of people jump to anger. It's never going to be just one thing, but I was just sad. Certainly I was feeling that for the sake of my fellow soldiers and people I went through that with. But I was also sad for the people of Afghanistan.
You have to be. You have to be.
They were, if you think about what they had been through.
Yes.
In 1979, they were a thriving, interconnected culture, economy, country.
Major stop on the trade routes.
That's right. Soviet Union invades. The war becomes incredibly nasty. They killed at least 1 million civilians.
Right.
And they destroyed their economy because the Afghans relied heavily on their crops, pomegranates among them. And these orchards, these croplands went right up close to the road. Mujahideen were using them as ambush points. So the Soviets went full scorched earth and they just annihilated their ability to have a functioning economy.
Right.
They tore up all these orchards. They burned them. They blew them up. So we get to the end of the war. Soviets leave in 1989, or like the last days of 1988.
Right.
And the country's devastated. They leave behind a puppet communist-led government,
yep,
which lasts a few years, and then we start to devolve into the civil war with the Taliban.
Right.
We know about the Taliban. The 90s was a horrible time.
Yes.
And they were in the Stone Age. The Soviets blew them into the Stone Age.
Right.
So with the advent of the internet, nothing there. The only people with telephones in Afghanistan were Al-Qaeda and the Taliban.
Right.
Then you get the U.S.-led invasion. This is a part of the war I think a lot of people don't quite appreciate or understand fully, but we modernized the country. We plugged that country in, and whatever government that followed, whether it was Democratic Karzai or Ashraf Ghani or the Taliban now, they don't have enough authoritarian control over their systems to unplug the country. They're not China. They can't control the internet.
Right. And well, they tried recently.
Oh, did they? I see. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, they tried recently. They went dark in Kabul and Coast and a couple other areas, but it was all, like Pakistan border areas. And there was a big uproar about it because they did it. But what people don't realize is there's not that many people in Afghanistan that's got internet anyway because it's too damn expensive for them.
It's expensive, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm not surprised. I guess they're learning.
Yeah.
But what that allowed people to do, and you also, we were there for 20 years, so you now you have an entire generation
Right.
who have grown up with access to the outside world and unfettered access to information. Any Afghan could go on Wikipedia. There wasn't a block
Right.
on that. So you get all, they've now entered the global space, and now they're getting sent back in the Stone Age again
Right.
by the Taliban. It's tragic. So back to your question about the Doha Agreement and leading into the collapse in 2021, I was incredibly sad,
Right.
and that coincided with my own personal connection tragedy with this. The other interpreter I had, a gentleman named Saeed, I was trying to help him get a special immigration visa to the States,
Right.
and the Taliban killed him.
Right.
They caught up to him, and they murdered him.
Yes.
He went home for ironically for the funeral of a family member, an uncle, I believe. Taliban showed up, said, "There you are." They knew
Right.
he was an interpreter because he helped serve America. They
Right.
shot him.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that really pisses me off about everything that's going on today. With they shut the SIV program down
Yeah,
and all that, and some of them's had their paperwork in the system for 4.5 years,
right.
and the ones that did make it over here, now they're being threatened with being sent back, knowing damn good and well if they do get sent back, their Taliban's going to be waiting on them when they land,
Right.
and they're dead at that
They're
point.
dead. They're dead.
They're dead.
My co-author Abdul Haq, uh, it's part of the story of the book, I suppose, but he did make it out and made it to Germany, and he applied for asylum there
Right.
and was initially denied. So part of what got us back in contact is I was helping him put together his case because
Right.
he appealed it
Right.
through the judicial system there. It took us 3 years to do it. And he told me on the phone at one point, if they send me back, the Taliban will kill me. I will
Oh, yeah.
not
Yeah.
let them do that. I will light myself on fire in front of the U.S. Embassy in Berlin. I will self-immolate and kill myself before they
Right.
put me on an airplane. Because what's the difference?
Exactly.
What's the
Exactly.
difference? And we think that this gentleman is a threat to the United States or
Right.
Germany in that case.
Right.
It's obscene. It's absurd.
Okay. Well, since we went into that arena, this would be a good time to bring up your book. Your book is called Not Our Problem. And you can pre-order it now because I just recently pre-ordered mine. And won't you kind of tell us about your book? And I'm kind of curious as to how you come up with the title for it.
It's a great question. In retrospect, it's perfect, but there was a long path to get there. Yeah, so this is actually an appropriate way to get into it because 2017, Saeed is killed. I
Right.
reach out to Abdul Haq and say, "Hey, are you good, man?" Because, people are dropping. And he never responded to me. So for the next 18 months, I was led to believe that he was dead.
Right.
And I not just lost one friend, but I had lost two. Christmas Eve 2018, I get an email from Abdul Haq. And it says, "Hi, sir. I'm in Germany. Can you send me pictures from our deployment? I need it to help my asylum case here." I almost dropped my drink or spit it out. Emailed him back and said, "Hey, man, glad to hear you're good. What's going on?"
Right.
He goes, "Well, I left. I fled Afghanistan. The Taliban were after me. They had threatened my life. They tried to kill me. So it took him 7 months and the entirety of his family fortune, which isn't much in Afghanistan. People don't have a lot of money. $15,000 to pay various smugglers and to eat and live along the way.
Right.
He
Right.
made it into Germany, so he made his way in, immediately turned himself in, said, "Hi, I'm here." I said, "Okay, let's go run you through the process." And in a few short months, got a denial for asylum, reason stating no credible threat to your life. They said, if the Taliban wanted you dead, where are the marks and scars on your body from when they captured you and tortured you? And he said, guys, if the Taliban captured me, they would not have tortured me. They would have murdered me immediately. What
Right.
kind of absurd logic is that? So in any
Right.
case, he reaches out to me and says, I need help. I said, I got you. I went out, I flew out a few months later to spend some time with him, reconnect with him. We hadn't seen each other about 7 years at that
That's
point,
great.
war. Uh, and I just sat down and I said, what the hell happened to you? How did you get here?
Right.
And he told me the story. And that night I went into my hotel room and I wrote it down from memory. It was 2 pages. Didn't know it at the time, but that was the beginning of the book.
Okay.
What he told me later, he said, I want my story to be a part of this case. I want people to understand what I went through so they understand what all refugees go through, what all Afghans are
Right.
going through.
Right. And that story needs to be told.
That's right. And so I said, I will help you in this task.
Right.
So we started to put it together and it grew and it grew and it grew. And we just went wherever he wanted. I said, where does your memory take you? So there are just these vignettes and stories and blobby parts that all started to kind of come together. And about a year into this process, I sat down with a friend of mine, a guy named Charlie Goodyear. He recently wrote a book about President Garfield,
Okay.
and he goes by C.W. Goodyear. So if anyone's looking for it, that's the name. And I was telling him this story, and he says, "Hey, man, you've got a book." I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah. Look, most people set out to write a book instead of to tell a story, and it's backwards.
Right.
Very few people succeed in writing a book because that's their goal, and that's the wrong goal to have. You have a story that's worthy of a book length exposition." And I said, "Okay." So I brought the idea to Abdul Haq. I said, "What do you think about making this a book?" And he said, "I'm in. I want people to know what I went through.
Right.
Other people don't have to." I said, "Okay, I will help you on this journey."
Right.
Took us many years to get it all together, to get just the language and prose into a place that made sense.
Right.
Take out things that weren't serving the narrative and the plot, even though they were real and they were interesting and they were emotional. So we had to kill our darlings a number of times and fit it into a narrative that made sense. And this all was culminating as Afghanistan started to collapse in 2021. I was in Germany with him when the Taliban took back control of Herat, his home city.
Okay.
I was in the airport leaving in Frankfurt when the airport was being overrun. It was awful. I was sobbing in the airport. All these austere German people around me felt very awkward by this openly emoting American tourist. But it was strange. It was so separate. Like, look, this is horrible tragedy that's unfolding live, and people are going about their business. I don't necessarily blame them for that. It's just the way the modern world is. But the juxtaposition was devastating.
Oh yeah.
And so I, went home. We finished the book over the course of a number of years, and it has evolved to where it is now. And you asked about the title.
Yeah.
The original focus of the book was on Abdul Haq's refugee experience.
Right.
And so the working title was Refugee, the story of a blah, blah, blah. After 2021, we got some media exposure. Associated Press did an article on our story, got picked up by CNN and Fox as well. And we got a lot of feedback, a lot of people coming in talking to us, and they said, look, this story isn't just him, it's you guys. People are really interested in your friendship, your relationship. If you're going to do something, and part of the reality is appealing to the right market. If you want a Western audience to care about an individual Afghan refugee, the entrance point needs to be something they're familiar with. It makes sense if you're part of the story. I was reluctant at first because I don't want to make myself anyone near the center of attention about, I'm not the refugee. He's the one who went through all this.
Right. He's the one that went through hell.
That's right. What we realized is it would have been a deliberate omission to keep me out of the story in the beginning and the end because I was a part of it.
Right.
And so we said, okay, let's do that. So he's 80% of the voice of the book, and I'm there in the beginning and I'm in there in the end. So that's why it's our story, our book. And so it was refugee, and then eventually evolved to against all odds. But that was really trite. I think there were a number of other books that already had that title. So as we were going through the process with our agent and our publisher, we just generated like 20 possible titles. This one floated to the top. And the more we played with it and the more we're looking at it, we thought, this really fits. Like this makes a lot. It was also not only capturing the theme, the overall theme of the
Right.
United States through policy,
Right.
through the actions or inactions of bureaucrats everywhere saying, you're not our problem, man.
Right. Yeah.
It was
Absolutely.
also something
And
that,
I was curious as to if that was how you come up with a name.
it fit. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where it originally came from is the second reason we picked it. It's something he heard while on the road as a refugee.
Oh, okay. Oh,
He
I'm sure
would,
he did.
yeah, he
Yeah.
would get placed with one smuggler or one handler
Right.
after the other in quick succession, and he would get dropped off somewhere, and he goes, "What next? What do I do?" And you're not my problem anymore.
Right. Right.
Figure it out.
Right.
So that refrain shows up 3 or 4 times throughout the book, and as we were reading back through it, we saw that and we thought, "Ooh, that's it." It
Oh,
was there. It was in the pages already. We just had to pull it
well,
out.
like you said, it certainly fits the situation.
It does.
So,
It does.
I'm
Unfortunately,
right.
it
Right.
does.
And I'm looking forward to reading it whenever it gets here.
I'm,
So,
I'm holding. Thank you. I've got an advanced copy sitting here.
hey,
Like
there
I
you
said, we're
go.
looking at the cover. That's what it looks like.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, if you're watching this, go to Amazon and pre-order. I think that's where I found mine.
You can find it anywhere. If you
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble,
Right.
bookstore.org, anywhere that sells books, you'll find it.
Yep. So,
And if you're in Turkey, we're getting published over there in the Turkish language.
really? Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, we're working on. We want to get it published in every country he passed through as a refugee.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
It gets interesting because
Yeah.
then you're trying to publish in Iran.
Right.
I don't know how that's going to work out, especially
Right.
given recent events. Yeah, Greece is more likely. We might get it in Pakistan, even though he didn't go there.
Okay.
But
So
that's pretty cool.
so his route out of Afghanistan actually took him through Iran.
That's right. That was his first stop. He actually entered
And
Iran legally on a tourist
yes,
visa, linked up in the smuggling network, and made his way
and,
into Turkey after that.
and a lot of people don't realize that is one of the first stops out of Afghanistan for
Right.
most of them.
Yep. Go.
Uh,
It's amazing. You pull up a map and just stare at it for a while, you realize how close and connected all these places actually are.
oh yeah, yeah. Uh, when I had Masood here and got to know him and everything, that's he he was born in Kabul, and his family actually fled Afghanistan when he was young because his dad got in some trouble for something, and that's where they went, was Iran.
It's very common.
Yeah,
There's language
yeah,
commonality there too.
yeah,
Because if
yeah.
you're from Western Afghanistan, they speak Persian. They call it Dari, but it is
Right,
Persian.
right,
So it's easy, right? Ethnicity, language, culture, it's the same. It's kind of an arbitrary line between Afghanistan and Iran.
right. So, well, I want to thank you for coming on, but before I let you go, is there anything else that you want to talk about or bring up, or you got something else, another project in the works, or
No other projects in the works. This is the primary one. So
right,
I appreciate you taking the time to bring some attention to it. It does release on April 21st, but you can order it now anywhere you find books.
right,
The other thing I'll just say is that so that other folks in the GWOT community, if you find yourself isolated, if you find yourself having suicidal thoughts, there is an enormous community out there
oh yeah,
who wants to help, that
yes,
will help. Reach out to your battle buddy. Reach out to Warriors in Quiet Waters.
yes,
Find a resource. There's help everywhere if you'll ask. So
yes,
please, I've lost soldiers to suicide. There's enough of that. We don't need that
I agree.
So
I agree.
please ask for help.
I agree. Couldn't agree with you more. So, all right, with that, we'll go ahead and wrap this up.
Thank you,
And
Jim.
absolutely, thank you.
It's 15/2010. It's approximately 18:30 in the evening here at Forward Operating Base Forest. Please tell me your name and your rank, sir.
My name's Corporal Jimmy Robinson.
Congratulations, you just got promoted here. First time being promoted away from the States?
No, I got promoted to PFC during my first deployment.
So this is your second deployment, is that right?
Actually, my third.
Your third. One in Afghanistan?
Yeah, I've done 2 in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan.
All right, tell me, what's your job?
My job, I'm a fire team leader, Alpha team leader under Sergeant Riley.
And how old are you, sir?
27.
How long have you been in the Army?
I've been in a little bit over 5 years.
Where do you hail from?
Originally from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Home of the Bengals, is that right?
That's right.
I was speaking with Sergeant Riley earlier, and he spoke quite highly of you. You guys look like you have a really tight group here.
Yeah, it's we're all really close. We're all pretty good friends across the board.
You have family back home?
Yeah, I've got a wife and 2 kids back at Fort Campbell.
Congratulations, and their names?
Thank you. My wife's name's Kate, and my oldest daughter is Emily, and youngest is Tori.
Anything you want to say to them?
I love you guys. I miss you.
Very good. Corporal Robinson, congratulations on your promotion.
All right, thank you very much.
And be safe out here.
I'll try.
It's Jim Sperry, August 15, 2010, at the promotion of Corporal Robinson. Corporal, what's your first name again?
It's Jimmy.
Jimmy. That's an easy name to remember. My name's Jim.
It works, huh?
All right, roger that, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Congratulations.